This will be an unboxing and review video of a Pagani PD1718. I purchased this on AliExpress and I paid about $60 US, including shipping and tax. So is this going to ship in a typical Pagani design cardboard box? Inside the box, you're going to get the typical cleaning cloth, an instruction manual, and hopefully the watch. Yep, there it is. Okay, so there's the watch, along with a hang tag that was not attached. Now this particular watch did not include a screwdriver, so usually you get a small screwdriver, so maybe mine was just missing, and that small screwdriver is typically used to adjust the bracelet. So obviously this is an homage to a Tudor Black Bay chronograph, but this one's a little bit smaller in size, so actually I guess this would be if there was a Black Bay 58 chronograph. So this watch is offered in two different colorways. This one has the black dial with silver subdials, so it's kind of like a reverse Panda. And they also have a white version with a white dial and black subdials for a true Panda. And as mentioned before, this is an homage to a Tudor Black Bay chronograph, but it's truer in size to a Black Bay 58. So let's talk about dimensions. This has a bezel diameter of 39.5 millimeters. It has a case thickness of 13.25 millimeters. It has a lug-to-lug width of 48 millimeters. And fortunately, this has a bracelet with inverted female end links, so the bracelet does not add any width to the lug-to-lug. And we have a 20 millimeter lug width. So let's talk about some of the features of this watch. Looking at the dial, we can see the Pagani design logo, which is printed at the 12 o'clock position. At the 6 o'clock position, we have UGS in red, and I believe that stands for Upgrade Grand Series. We have a water-resistant rating of 100 meters. The bezel insert has a tachymeter, and it appears to be ceramic, has a nice gloss finish to it. We have a signed screw-down crown and screw-down pushers. We also have a screw-down case back, which states stainless steel, water resistant 100 meters, along with the Pagani design logo, sport, PD-1718, which is the model number. Now, I purchased this watch actually just last week, so this is the newer model of this watch. I believe the earlier ones had a little different case back design with an anchor. We can see that we have radial brushing on top of the case with a polished chamfer. The sides are brushed as well. Pagani advertises this watch as a sapphire crystal, and it does look like it's slightly domed. There's a little bit of distortion, so it's probably a single dome, I would assume, and really does not appear to be any anti-reflection coating. So some people may not like that. It doesn't really bother me, although sometimes you do see a lot of reflection outside, and you can see it's picking up some of the windows here in my house. Let's talk about the bracelet. So this has a bracelet that's 20 millimeter lug width. And this is actually a 5-link bracelet. So there's 2 outer links that are thin, which are polished, and then these 3 inner links here, which are all brushed. So I really like the look of this bracelet. It has nice articulation. So this bracelet does have these faux rivets, but believe it or not, they're actually not faux rivets. They are real. And the reason I know that is because when I received the watch, one of them was broken, and I was able to pull the whole pin out, and I have it right here to show you. So this is the end rivet here, and this is the pin that was in the bracelet that I was able to slide out. Now, fortunately, when I slid the pin out, the bracelet link did not separate, so I believe that this inner link is still attached with an additional pin internally. I did have a spare rivet, believe it or not. I do have some watch supplies because I do this as a hobby. So I had something that I could put in there and replace it. So I went ahead and replaced the rivet. So hopefully that was a one-off issue with this particular watch and you won't have that problem. Now the clasp assembly does have the Pagani design logo. It is a push to release mechanism with a milled hinge assembly. It does have 3 holes for micro adjustment. It's also screw pins, so I already sized this bracelet to my 6.5-inch wrist, but there are screw pins that hold these together, so that's pretty nice. And fully brushed, so I really like the look of this bracelet because it is fully brushed. Just the flanks or ends are polished. I prefer a brushed case and brushed bracelet to anything highly polished. This watch features a Seiko /TMI VK64 Mechaquartz movement. So this is a quartz, but it does not have any running seconds. So this VK64 is kind of unique in that it only has 2 subdials. So the subdial at 3 o'clock is a 24-hour subdial. So that's going to basically tell you whether you're an AM or PM. And that is just tied to the main hour hand, so it's not adjustable at all. And then at 9 o'clock, we have a 60-minute counter. And in the center, we have a large sweep second hand that actually sweeps at 1/5 second increments. And what's fairly unique about this watch, at least this movement, is that there is no running seconds. So looking at this watch, you would really never know it was a quartz. And I think that's pretty cool. To activate this chronograph, we have to first unthread the pushers. So the top one's gonna start and stop our chronograph, and the bottom pushers for the reset. I'm gonna go ahead and start the chronograph, and you're gonna see the sweep second hand start to tick in 1/5 second increments. And when we push that pusher, we get a nice solid click as well, and that's typical of most Mechaquartz movements. And we can see that large sweep second hand, which actually has a red arrow at the end, sweeping in 1/5 second increments, or 5 ticks per second. Now a typical Japanese automatic movement is usually going to tick at 6 ticks per second. So this one's pretty close, and a Swiss watch is usually going to tick at 8 ticks per second. I'm going to go ahead and let this go to the full minute so we can see the minute hand at the 9 o'clock subdial move to the first minute position, indicating that a minute has gone by. Again, it kind of looks like a mechanical watch. We wouldn't necessarily know that it's a quartz. And we can see the minute hand has moved 1 minute as we're going sweeping towards our second minute. Now to stop it, you just push that button again and it will stop. And then you could read your time. We could start it again by pushing it a second time and stop it. Now with a Mechaquartz, when I reset this, it's gonna sweep back to 0 pretty quick. So it snaps back, and that is a feature of a true Mechaquartz movement. There you go. So it snapped back to 0. Now when you're done, it's a good idea to go ahead and make sure that you thread these back in to lock the pushers in place. And I imagine it also helps with any water resistance as well. This watch has a signed screw-down crown. Let's go ahead and unthread that. Now this particular movement, this VK64, does have a date wheel, but there is no date on the dial, so it does have a ghost date. So there's going to be the first pull position here is actually going to be your date setting, which we don't have. So go ahead and pull it out a second click, and that's going to be your time setting position here. And as I rotate the hour hand, you can see that subdial at 3 o'clock also moving, indicating that we are in the PM. I'm going to go ahead and push that back in, and just make sure that you carefully thread this back in. You don't want to cross thread it, so you've got to go and find the threads and just gently start to turn clockwise to engage those threads. And actually that was pretty easy, so that felt pretty good. And just tighten that. You don't want to over tighten it, but just make sure it's snug so that you have your water resistance. And here's a shot on my 6.5-inch wrist. So at 39.5 millimeters, along with the female inverted end links, it's a really nice fit for smaller wrists. I really enjoy the size here, so I think it fits pretty well and I think it looks good. Now I removed 5 links to get to my 6.5, so there should still be plenty of links available for larger wrists as well. Now Pagani is really not known for their loom, so let's go ahead and charge this up and take a look, although I don't have any high expectations for this watch. So, not too bad. The hands look like they might be a little weaker than the hour markers, but initially it doesn't look too bad, but again, I probably don't expect it to last very long. Pagani's just not known for their loom. So what are my overall views of this watch? Well, I really like it, and that's because I'm a big fan of Tudor black bays. So if you really like the Tudor black bay look, but not the price tag, this is certainly worth looking at. Again, it's got a Mechaquartz movement, so there's nothing that's ticking on this, so you wouldn't necessarily know it was a quartz. It's a great size if you've got smaller wrists, being 39.5 compared to a 41 millimeter Tudor. I like that it's got the fully brushed bracelet, at least the top. And I like the rivets. I like the brushed look on the case itself. Yeah, overall, it just fits really nice. I think it's an attractive watch, and I would definitely recommend it. Here is the Pagani Daytona version, which I also have, and I like both of these watches. One thing I don't care for on this particular Daytona model, though, is just the high amount of polish that's on the watch. So I just don't really like the high polished cases. So that's why I like the look of this black bay. And having just 2 subdials gives it a little bit more of like a vintage diving or vintage chronograph look. So there you go. If you have any questions, please leave them down below, and thank you for watching.